This is Love Anthropology.
So good afternoon. We're here today with Kelly and Michael from Mode Models International. We're really excited to have you guys here and to learn a little bit more about what's going on in the modeling world. Welcome.
Great to be here, Gay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you guys are a fantastic team. You've created actually one of the top modeling agencies in the world. Can you give us a little bit of a rundown how you've done that? You guys seem so cohesive as a team and what you've done.
Well, I'll start first, Michael, and then I'll jump to you.
Okay.
I opened the agency when I was 20 in Red Deer, Alberta, and it was right at a high school. I started taking pictures of people I thought were good looking. But one of the things that I found in my life, in my career, and I think it's good advice to anyone starting a business, is that I was lucky enough to find that job that I was meant to be doing. A lot of people dream of doing things, but they're not necessarily their skill set, or they're not good at it. And so they'll dream to be a photographer, they'll dream to be this, and they'll be so determined. And with a lot of the self-help stuff that's out there and a lot of the manifesting talk that's out there, they believe that they're going to be able to do it, even if they don't have the skills. And I was fortunate enough at a young age to fall into an industry that I was meant to be doing. Because when I speak to youth in entrepreneurship, I talk to kids about finding that perfect job because they're quite frustrated after grade 12 or university. And I say, you should have 3 columns. One column is the things that your mom and your dad and your grandma and your grandpa always said, oh my goodness, look at his fingers, he could play the piano. And then there's those dream jobs that you've always dreamt of doing, make a list of those. And then what you have to do is you need to write a Myers-Squibb or a proper aptitude test where you answer the questions honestly. Because when I look back in my life, I never did that. But when I was reflecting one time, I had to keynote at a teachers convention about this topic. I realized that when I was younger, I played with Barbies, and my grandma, when Tricia Helfer won the award in Stettler for the Chamber of Commerce, she said, oh my goodness, Alan, now he plays with real Barbies, and the thing is, I do. And then when I looked at my dream jobs, it was a photographer, maybe a model, and then I had a KISS band in grade 5 that I never joined the band. I was the manager. So I sold tickets to a band in grade 5. So I was already doing what I do now. And then when I did write an aptitude test, it said, this line of work I'm in. So if I would have done that, I would have been on a right track to do what would be my dream job. So I never feel like I'm going to work. So I believe for your question, when you ask about the success of this company, that is the reason why. The passion was there, and it was something that I was very good at from day one. And then I, carried it forward for many years, had great success, worked for the Fords, and was able to find someone like Michael, and then Michael sort of took over after I had to take a mental health break. And Michael, if you want to interject, how you fell into this.
Yeah, for sure. Like it's kind of a similar thing. Like I always loved fashion growing up, and I did not, really know where to begin, quite honestly. And so I just started trying to volunteer anywhere that I could. And I met Kelly. I was 17 years old, and I met Kelly at an event in Calgary, and just started going off about a girl, Joanna Sticklin, we had on the runway. And I thought she was amazing. And, I was really confident at that time before I really had any reason to be. But and Kelly told me to apply for the agency. And it very much was the same thing, is that like, all of my passions and passions for people, passions for fashion, passions for events and production and things like that. Mode was such a blessing and still continues to be, because I'm able to experience all of those things that I'm passionate about under one umbrella with people that I love, and a company that I think is so incredible. And so, I think it's all about like casting a wide net and being honest and genuine with yourself in those moments, so that you can be following, your heart line basically in your work. So like Kelly said, it doesn't feel like you're working.
Exactly. Well, even if you have a passion though, one of the things, there has to be something, there is either a work ethic or something. How do you get that many models that you've had that have gone international and famous? That is not just luck. That is not just law of attraction. That is either a work ethic or a program you guys put in place.
Well, Gay, I'll jump to that, because for me, it is a gift. And I've been told I can see 2-dimensionally. And Michael has a great eye too, but my eye is an eye that Eileen Ford, like when I showed up at an event, I met one of her scouts. Katie Ford, her daughter, actually, and one of their people. And she said, how do you pick these people? You know, because in person, they did not look at all like their pictures. And they were like, how do you know? And I would say how I know. And it was just something that was inside me, right? And the thing is, and so that's what I'm trying to say when you go back to what I said earlier. If it's inside you, a lot of times outside people will see that. Like my mom would say, oh my goodness, you need to be in that kind of a world or whatever, because your parents quite often will give you advice and you won't take it. But when you look back on your life, they did know you. They watched you grow. They watched the things that fascinated you. They watched you, how well you were, how good you did certain things and how poorly you did other things, right? And so quite often there's a resistance to that guidance in a home, you know, from the family. But they do know you and they do have your best interest at heart. And so when you ask what that special formula is, for me, it was from a young age. I always wanted to be the leader of the pack. I always wanted to be organizing people. I always had to be the best. And, you know, it was, for as much as it was a gift, Gay, it also drove me into a mental health depression, because for me, in a lot of areas where your brain works at a different level or functions at a different level, you can drive yourself crazy. You know, trying to be that person, like you said, Gay, that has hundreds of people out there. Because as Michael will say, I mean, you can tell her about how I take good news.
not well.
Because it's a gift and it's also a curse, and he can share like an example of it. You know, go ahead.
Yeah, totally. It's you know, Kelly is so just, it's really a hard thing to explain unless you've experienced it. And I know, Gay, you've probably experienced it before, is that, you know, no one really cares as much as he does, quite genuinely. And so everything feels, you know, almost too personal and more personal than it should be when things are happening, because there's such a responsibility for all the work that we're doing. But, you know, don't get mistaken, like it is a lot of work. And Kelly, before I even walked into, you know, this company that he built, had been grinding for 20 years to get it to that point, and every single day and all weekend and all the time. And, you know, that's where the passion comes into play, is it makes that more palatable, right?
And I don't ever and I don't rest on my laurels. That was what you know, Michael, you could have said it because it was a criticism. I think you wanted to say it. He'll call and say, hey, we got Prada this morning.
Oh, yeah.
And instead of being really happy, Gay, that we got the worldwide product campaign, I'll be like, oh my God, that's amazing. But what happened with Will? Why didn't he get it? Or what's going on with John? And he's like, can you just please accept the fact that we had a huge win? And I'm like, no, like I'm always like, as fast as we get the win, I am already looking at the next season. And that frustrates my staff sometimes, because I literally will not, I'll be like, well, that's great, but whatever, we need to get 3 more, like, because I'm always thinking about all the people that still have their hopes and dreams in my hands. So I am that, when you say, how did we get to where we are? It's that inner drive that's almost unhealthy in some ways, because you're never satisfied. Like, yeah, I am totally never satisfied. Like, we have had hundreds and hundreds of Vogue covers and campaigns, but I still want more and more and more. And so, like I say, it's a blessing and a curse.
Well, one of the things I noticed when I worked events with you, you're very direct and sometimes almost caustic with some of these kids, but they just absolutely love you. Like, you know, the last bridal fantasy that we did, for you to have somebody like Meg Collison, who's major now, and she's so over the top just to see you. And I saw that direct, that sincere feeling that she had. It was like amazing. And a lot of people that are in business do not have that with people that go on to become famous and that. You know, this last session you had in Calgary with all your past models and the photos and stuff, like that's amazing. And then they come into the event. You know, that's
it's also because
like I sorry, go ahead, Kelly.
Well, I was going to say, because to be honest with you, I could be a lot wealthier than I am. Like, if I could have started courses and capitalized on the benefits of what we established, like what a lot of modeling schools and things have done, you know, when you get those covers and things, you use that to get more people to come in the door, right? When you have a product that can appeal to the masses, that's a great thing. So if you sell a great lipstick like Mac did and Madonna uses it and then millions of people buy it, that's okay, because it's some lipstick and everyone can use it whether they like it or not. But with modeling, what most people would do in my position with all the accolades, pardon my arrogance or whatever, but with the accolades I've had, we would use that to sell classes and just really capitalize on that to the masses. I can't do that. And my models have seen me sacrifice big profits for their own benefit. Like, I could make 10% of $100,000 booking, but I know that $100,000 booking for some low-end department store will stop Hugo Boss or stop Prada from booking them. And so I will, and Michael knows that, I will sacrifice the money for the long-term gain that may not ever come. And so when models realize that you do have their best interest at heart and that you will make the right choice in terms of their benefit, not just your own pocketbook, that's where you get the Megans loving you for 14 years when they don't really even need you anymore. And
yeah, when Kelly and I were in New York last February, it was like such a mind-blowing thing for me to see how even at the top of the industry, there's still so much of like a jadedness going around, just especially now with the pandemic, like in the world everywhere, there's that, oh, I'm over it, I've seen it, I've done this, blah, blah, blah. And seeing how unique, I know how amazing and unique Kelly is in general, but seeing in that, you know, big leagues, and these are people like Megan who live in those big leagues, you know, people who have that passion and also aren't afraid to do the right thing, even if it's the hard thing, and to ruffle feathers and to, you know, push that stuff through. It is a big rarity. And that's why you have people who have been at all levels of success that stay and are loyal to Mode and to Kelly and to us, is because, you know, they've seen that for themselves, that is a really rare trait. And I think, you know, a lot of people should be less afraid to, you know, make bold decisions and really like go after it.
Yeah, you have that. You have a business in Edmonton that people trust the brand. Yeah. They trust the years you've been there. They trust the quality, and they know that if there's a problem, you'll service it. And so, you know, that helps. But I think more importantly, and I would have to say from a practical podcast listener, because this isn't like, oh, Kelly's amazing show. Like, you have to give people practical advice. And if I was to give practical advice as to what's made me this way, is I have learned to look at things from other people's perspective, even if I'm furious with them. You know, we had that incident about a big show recently in Edmonton, and I look at that, you look at it from their perspective, and you can understand why they feel the way they feel. It doesn't mean you're always going to come up with an amicable solution, but when you can look at it from the other person's perspective and see, hey, if I make this decision, this could solidify this relationship forever because they'll trust me. Some people could say that's manipulative, right? Because you may not want to make the decision. Right. But I think in my case, it's strategic. I always try and look at it from the other person's perspective, because if you can get into their head and make them realize you're going to give them some bad news, or as you said, caustic, or the way I deliver it, but they know you're doing it for their best interest, they'll receive it. Right. And they'll continue to love you like a parent, you know? But otherwise, because Michael said it's such a jaded and criticized industry, it's a real tough one to navigate, that's for sure.
We have to talk for just a minute about how much you guys actually, besides what you're doing with the models, you give back in charity work and stuff, because you guys are phenomenal. I see stuff all the time, whether what you've done with us, with Compassion with Fashion, Contemporary Calgary, just even small things just for people that need help out there raising money. Can you talk to us about where that came from? That passion?
For me, it came from me wanting to do shows, and it was a selfish motive to begin with. I'm not going to lie. I wanted to work with Holt Renfrew and all the big designers, but I was this kid from Red Deer, and the only way I could get in was to bring some of those New York cliques. I was traveling with Trisha Helfer in my 20s, and so I'll never forget showing up in Edmonton, and I met this lady, Mary Turner. She used to be the manager of the Holt Renfrew here. Deb Kerr was her associate underneath her, and I said, listen, I know you work with other agencies and other producers here in Edmonton, but I go to all the shows around the world. I have Trisha Helfer, blah, blah, blah. I'm from Red Deer. Will you give me a chance? And Mary checked me out from through Toronto and stuff, and I checked out. And I had to deliver on those big models, and I did the reopening of the McDonald Hotel using the Oilers as the models. And this, Don Allard was her husband. Cam and Don Allard were the honorary chairs. And it was a big thing from this little shit from Red Deer. I'm not, pardon my French. And I remember meeting Deb Kerr. That's where Deb Kerr and I became friends. We did the fittings and everything together because she was on the floor. And I realized, oh, this charity angle, this is the way to get in with all these mucky mucks and these big wigs, right? And so what happened is I started realizing not only is it giving back and you're sharing your talents and you're doing something for an amazing cause, but you're also showing people like philanthropists and other people in that arena, wealthy people that do give back, you're showing them that you're one of them. And the thing is, and that helped my trajectory of my career, immensely. So like I say, I did it gay because I wanted the Holt Renfrew show, but it ended up becoming something that became a vital and very important part of the fabric of our company.
And one of the things we like at Bridal Fantasy is how you guys have always promoted the gay community, the drag community.
Yes.
You know, you're all always ethnically diverse, and we brought that into the shows, you know, over the last number of years, and that's so important. And I noticed that, you know, in the trends with your models too.
But gay, honey, the reality is, girl, if Studio 54 was alive around still, honey, and it was in Edmonton, you'd be right there alongside me, honey. You'd be in your go-go booth, and I'd be like the queen, honey, and we would be just like Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, the three of us.
Yeah.
Totally.
I think I'd be a little bit
there's
more
no
like...
more splashbacks.
I'd be more like Patrick Starr, that last pink outfit. I loved it. Anyway...
But you need forward clients like yourself to be able to do that. A lot of clients won't open the doors, but you're forward thinking because you're inclusive and you realize anybody could get married. So if you're doing a bridal show, then you need to do it for everybody. You can't just do it for like one sect of the demographic of the world, because that's not the way the world is anymore.
No, and I know you brought that into your family too, because I do follow your daughter Chloe on Instagram, and I see she's such an advocate for different social issues and stuff. And how important is that to you, and what did you do to raise a child that's that socially responsible?
Well, I'm going to interject and I'm give it to Michael, is that when I came back, Michael had come out, and he, I hope it's okay to say that, Michael.
It did happen.
And married a man, and I went to my first gay wedding, which was Michael's wedding, and I had never been to it. My daughter came with me, and Chloe was very popular in school, but she saw some of the gay kids and one transgender kid, like, I don't know if it was a trans kid at school or, but she just didn't like the bullying, the underdog. So she took on a lot of these people, you know, just as much of friends as being the popular girls. And then she realized that those people were a lot more genuine in terms of the friendship than some of those popular girls. And so she really leaned towards that side of the population. And she just evolved into being this advocate. You know, the night before the election, the provincial election, I remember she was out there picketing for transgender, and on the night of the Kenny election, and there she is on the 6 o'clock global news. And so everyone's calling me saying, your daughter is on the 6 o'clock news the night before the election, Michael's mom. And I'm like, oh, you need to tell dad, like, you're going on the 6 o'clock news before you're on the 6 o'clock news, please. But Gay, I think she might have just saw that in me, but I won't take credit for Chloe because she is an independent thinker and corrects me all the time. And I think Michael's life has had a big influence on her and me too, to be honest with you.
Well, it's something that you're both doing right, contributing to her, that she has that much confidence, because that's one thing that you see right away when you talk to her, because I've talked to her on several occasions. And that confidence in somebody that young, that's, you know, something that's very special. They go on to do great things, and that's from an older person just saying that kind of thing. Let's just talk a quick question about COVID, because we've all been affected by COVID here. And how have you both dealt with COVID? Because, I mean, it affects us all personally, our companies, those we work with, etc.
It's been a many like layered cake, I would say. You know, the first part of it is, you know, people in general have the tendency to be on themselves about like passion or their life or their career or like that. And I think that, you know, one of the things I found interesting is that we're constantly having to remind people that 2020 is not necessarily a reflection of your worth or your momentum or things like that. So there's that personal mental health aspect that I think everyone's handling or trying to handle. And then one of the things that's quite interesting is you know, we work in a creative business, and people respond well in creativity to limitation, I find. And if you look at what is happening, you know, had been happening in the shows in Europe last season and with some of these other things, you know, we're on a podcast now with Gay Dirk, right? You know, it's causing people to try new things and to think outside the box within the box that's been created for them. And so I think that, you know, that's one of the reasons why the fashion industry, why we all love it, is that it's constantly changing and adjusting and, you know, pushing itself to do that. But it's been difficult, definitely, for everybody. We've been very lucky that it's, you know, no one is untouched by any means. I think it's just about supporting each other. And, you know, having perspective is very important.
And pivots, like Michael, that's that buzzword we talked about. You have to be able to pivot, right? Some industries you can't pivot, because by the time you pivoted to change your entire industry, when it goes back to the way it was, which a lot of people say it's never going to, which is what I'm going to speak to, Gay. You know, they're saying COVID has changed the world forever and da-da-da-da. I think that's BS. Personally, I did think that at first, but when I watch, like, the shows just went normally last season, right? Somewhat normally, right?
Right.
When I watched the hunger for people to get back in those seats and go to the shows. And then Deb Kerr sent me an article on the front page of Women's Wear Daily, and she said, Kelly, it showed the fashion show is not dead, because people were dying to get right back there. In the beginning of all the business of fashion people, Tim Blanks, they were all saying they think there's no need for it anymore. It can all be done virtually, blah, 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 blah. But there's something to be said about people and music and gathering that you cannot take that away from human beings. You absolutely can't. No matter how virtual you can do Fashion with Compassion, or no matter how virtual you can do every show or Bridal Fantasy, it will not replace the real show.
I totally agree.
They love it. They do love it. And Amazon is taking over, but there's a contingent that wants retail. And even of the new generation. You know, it's about being seen too. And so I am hanging on to that thought. I mean, yes, it will change, but I'm hanging on to the thought that we're going to get back to normal, because I can feel people jonesing to be able to go out for dinner with whoever they want, and to be able to go to a gala and sit at a round table. And people say that's over. I do not believe for a second it's over. I don't. And I think the governments need to get their, pardon my friends, SHIT together, because to shut down theaters and auditoriums when you're filling 747s, I mean, a theater at the Francis Winspear is exactly the same as a 747 packed. And so they don't not sell middle seats. They're selling the middle seats. And so they should be able to allow performers to go back on that stage, and the audience is socially distanced, you know, with cohorts together, and then big spaces between, and not leave all those theaters and all of Broadway completely empty, because that is an industry that has been devastated by this.
Now, Kelly, this question is for you, and this is from some girls in our office. They wanted to know, like, a lot of them follow your Instagram, and they go, what do you do that you end up hanging out with people like Anna Wintour, Donatello? They said, what is it that attracts them? What kind of energy?
Well, Anna Wintour, I've never hung out with. I've just stalked her and taken pictures of her, make it look like she's my friend. So the thing is, and I like get the evil glares. Like when Jeff Bezos, actually at Tom Ford, Ivan Bart, the president of IMG, took me in, and his assistant, he's got two assistants, goes, Kelly, put your camera down. Stop it. Stop it. Like he's always trying to manage me like they do. Ivan looks at Jared and goes, Kelly, Jared, you can't manage him. Like you can't. He's got his own way. But the thing is, I was born with so much guts that when I met Miley, and that was quite genuine, I was just talking to Kate Hudson, because she lives with a couple of my models. And so how it happens is that, you know, your models become famous, and if they still recognize you and invite you to their place, well, if they happen to be living in someone's guest house, you meet the star, right? So by knowing her, that made the others accept me. But Miley didn't know me, but I walked right past her, and most people wouldn't have the guts to do it. But I looked at her because of Hannah Montana, and I said, honey, you are the best of both worlds and the baddest B word here. Right? I said, and she looks at me and she goes, well, thank you. And she's so cute, right? And I said, could we get a picture? And she goes, come sit down with me. And it's right in the front row. She goes, let's do a boomerang. And so we did this boomerang. I posted it on my Instagram, and then all my friends, even Michael, like Michael loves her, and he's gagging. Like I
was very upset, to say the least.
Obsessed with her. So I'm getting all this shade from all my direct messages, like, oh, you just walk out to people and ask for pictures and whatever. And as it worked out, she was leaving right when they were shading me. I'm checking my messages as I'm walking out. I said, Miley, my friends all think that it was my idea to do the boomerang. She goes, no, it was my idea. And so then I'm done. Like I am done, right? And so, but Gay, I'm so outgoing and crazy that when I meet people, they remember, because she came to the next party, the William Morris Endeavor party, and she remembered me. So she literally said, Kelly, across the room, and she asked for my fan, that fan I always carry. And Ivan, the president of IMG, said, I can't believe it. Like, I can't believe at a party of 800 celebrities, she remembered you from the party before, you know? And so I think that gregarious sort of it's a charismatic, it's a gift, but I also have no fear. Because in life, guys, you have nothing to lose. Like, even if they're so rude to you and they tell you right off, who cares? You didn't get it in the first place, but you could make a friend. And I made a friend. That night we hung out all night. We had an amazing time. Like, we did a whole night. And so for me, I meet those because I create those opportunities. You know, people say in life you manifest and you allow a vacuum to suck you up and you just follow like the celebrity and you go with it, right? I'm the opposite, and I posted that on my story today on Instagram. I believe that you need to create a reverse vacuum, and like you need to put out your energy and your sincerity and your zero caring attitude, and just allow people to come to you if you've got the guts to do it. If you don't have the guts to do it, then you can't. But if you've got the guts to do it, then that's what you need to do, you know? And that's what I do.
Thank you. You know what? I know you guys were on a time limit. I got one question to ask you.
I'm okay. I'm good.
Okay. So what is the most important thing each of you know for sure?
About ourselves or just about anything?
About anything.
Okay, Michael, go ahead.
Oh, gosh. I don't know. It's hard to not.
I can answer that. Well, you can think.
Go ahead, Kelly.
My answer to that is what you can know for sure. And everybody says this all the time, but this is for sure, is that you need to do you and put you out there the way you are. Admit your faults. I know for sure if you admit your faults, if you identify your weaknesses, own your weaknesses, don't get mad when people say them to you, like literally know who you are and accept who you are, but not in the airy-fairy way that people say. I mean, literally. So if someone says, Gay or Kelly, you got a fat butt, even if it's insulting, I know I have a fat butt. And so they may not have said it right, but I can own that completely. Or if I'm a name dropper, absolutely I'm a name dropper. I get it. It's not a great quality. I can't help it. Now that I'm a name, I still drop names. And the thing is, but it's something I own and I just make it my thing. And I know for sure that if you own who you are and allow other people to love it or hate it, you will be so much happier in life than if you try and be something else or hide shit. Don't hide shit.
Yeah.
That's
mine would kind of elaborate on that a little, because Kelly and I have had a million discussions about all this stuff. But I think that like what I know for sure is that you're in control of your own experiences with people, and what other people think of those experiences in a way really kind of doesn't matter, because people can find evidence basically for anything that they're looking for in regards to, you know, you as a person. So you have to be, you know, confident, like Kelly said, in what you're putting out there in the world and what your intentions are, and run by that first and foremost, because you're never going to be fully in control of everything else.
Well, I also know for sure that you're like a major BIT gay right now, because honey, you're sitting there like Carrie Donovan with those big black glasses. No, you can't see her right now, but I'll tell you, she's got her blonde hair, honey, and she's sitting with like a big mic in front of her with big black glasses like Carrie Donovan, aka New York Times fashion. And I know for sure that I think gay is made. Okay?
That we do know for sure. Yeah.
And even the name, honey, who gets the name Gay, honey? Like gay, like that's gay. Like she's the queen of the gays.
Yeah, the queen of the gays. Thank you so much, both of you guys. Have a great weekend and have a happy holiday too. Okay?
Anytime you want to do it. Bye, Gay.
Thank you. We love you. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.